Welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me today because we are looking at a massive structural shift in the tech landscape right now. For the last few years, artificial intelligence has kind of felt like magic happening inside a browser window, right? Just pure digital energy floating somewhere out in the cloud. Well, based on the latest data and market movements we're tracking, that era is officially over. AI is rapidly leaving the cloud and forcefully entering the physical world. It's a shift that is literally disrupting hardware supply chains, rewiring massive corporate structures, and even triggering some intense state-level geopolitical maneuvering. We've got a lot of truly fascinating ground to cover today, so let's jump right in. Okay, first up, let's wrap our heads around this massive number, $42.6 billion. This represents the estimated value of a highly unusual proposition. So OpenAI has reportedly offered the United States government a 5% stake in the company. Based on OpenAI's current $852 billion valuation ahead of its anticipated IPO, this $42.6 billion offer is just an unprecedented move to secure regulatory favor. It's a very clear bid by OpenAI to basically cement itself as America's sovereign AI champion. Think about that for a second. This isn't just a standard tech business anymore. We are talking about national infrastructure. And real quick, before we unpack exactly how this new infrastructure is changing our world, just a quick reminder, please subscribe to AI Vanguard AI to stay at the cutting edge of industrial AI. And hey, if you find this synthesis valuable as we go along, please like, comment, and share. It really helps us keep breaking down these massive industry shifts for you. All right, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. Section 1, the hardware bottleneck. Section 2, rise of autonomous agents. Section 3 is going to cover the geopolitical AI race. In Section 4, we'll examine the economy and workforce impact. And finally, Section 5, AI World Cup predictions. Starting off with Section 1, the hardware bottleneck, chips over code. We are seeing a profound realization sweeping across the entire tech industry right now. The primary constraint on AI development, it isn't human capital anymore, and it sure isn't investment dollars. It's the cold, hard physical reality of silicon and power grids. Just look at TSMC, the world's leading semiconductor manufacturer. They are posting record quarterly profits. The hardware monopolies that are actually printing the physical chips are seeing absolutely unprecedented capital gains. But on the flip side of that coin, Google is reportedly capping Meta's access to its Gemini models. Why would they do that? Well, because Meta requested more raw computing power than Google's data centers could physically supply. This compute rationing has literally delayed Meta's internal AI projects. So software companies are furiously cutting prices to compete with each other, but they are all slamming into a hard wall built out of physical chips and electricity. And seeing how companies are adapting to this hardware reality is fascinating. Take Anthropic, for instance. They are actively in discussions with Samsung right now to co-develop a custom AI chip specifically tuned for their Claude models. They are making a massive strategic move to reduce their reliance on NVIDIA. And honestly, just look at the financial metrics driving this pivot. Anthropic is operating at a profit, generating roughly $47 billion in annualized revenue. That makes them the absolute growth leader among LM startups right now. They're using all that momentum to prep for an IPO as early as October 2026, because they know, for sure, that to win the software game tomorrow, you absolutely have to control the physical hardware today. Moving right along to Section 2, rise of autonomous agents, AI in the physical world. So this whole transition from software to hardware, it isn't just about servers humming in a data center. It's really about how these models are being deployed as autonomous workers out into physical and corporate environments. We've got to understand this new buzzword going around, the Agentic Enterprise. Basically, this is the massive shift away from us using individual AI chat windows and moving towards unified fleets of automated employee agents that literally live inside a company's data pipelines. Google Cloud is doubling down hard on this with their expanded Gemini Enterprise portfolio. It's a unified platform meant to orchestrate all these agents. They're moving way beyond just selling you a chat subscription. They're directly challenging OpenAI's new ChatGPT work by selling businesses fully automated digital employees. The absolutely crucial point here is this overarching deployment trend. Creating the base models, that's not the bottleneck anymore. Integrating those models into real-world workflows is where all the massive value is flowing right now. Just follow the money. Amazon just launched a dedicated internal AI unit with a staggering $1 billion budget purely focused on integration. OpenAI just acquired North Slope last week. On top of that, both Anthropic and OpenAI have now launched separate, privately backed ventures focused entirely on this kind of deployment. Getting the AI to actually sit down and do the work in a messy, real-world business environment, that is the new frontier. But deployment isn't just happening on spreadsheets and in corporate pipelines. It is happening in heavy industry. Check this out. Boston Dynamics has partnered with Google Cloud and DeepMind to put the Gemini Robotics ER 1.6 model directly inside its Spot robot dog and orbit inspection platform. This is a game changer. Spot is no longer just some pre-programmed or remote-controlled machine. Because of Gemini, it is now an autonomous agent. It has spatial reasoning, continuous learning, and real-time decision-making capabilities. It is now perfectly suited to independently navigate complex physical environments, like power plants and massive factories. But here's the catch. For an AI agent like Spot to navigate our chaotic physical world, it needs a map, right? Well, NEC Corporation has unveiled some groundbreaking proprietary tech that solves exactly this. Here's how it works. First, you just capture a dynamic industrial site, say an active construction zone, using standard smartphone video. Second, the system crunches that video using custom neural networks and Gaussian splatting, which is this really wild, novel 3D rendering technique, and it does it all in just 60 seconds. Third, it automatically edits out anything temporary, so human workers walking by or a forklift that just parked there temporarily, gone. Finally, it outputs a highly detailed, clean, permanent 3D digital twin of the space. Literally, in 1 minute, our physical reality is perfectly translated into a map an AI mind can instantly understand.
All right, Section 3, the Geopolitical AI Race Global Stakes.
You know, when technology gets this incredibly capable of mapping and managing our physical infrastructure, it immediately stops being just a tech story and becomes a matter of national security and state-level sovereignty. Superpowers are racing for supremacy here. You might want to mark your calendars, because this timeline shows exactly why July 17th is shaping up to be the absolute biggest day of the year in AI, and it highlights the intense geopolitical tension we're facing. Look at this schedule. In the morning, we have the highly anticipated launch of Google's Gemini 3.5 Pro over in the US. Simultaneously, midday brings the opening of the massive Shanghai World Artificial Intelligence Conference, or WAKE, for 2026. And the really key event? That afternoon, Chinese President Xi Jinping will personally attend the WAKE for the very first time. It is a profound, undeniable demonstration of just how critical this technology is to state-level strategic planning on both sides of the globe. The global competition is heating up incredibly fast. Over in the US, Anthropic extended access to Claude Fable 5 until July 19th, and that's a direct competitive response to OpenAI's GPT 5.6 Soul. Meanwhile, in China, TikTok's parent company ByteDance just dropped Seedream 5.0 Pro, which is their newest high-fidelity image and video generation model. But perhaps the most telling indicator of this global shift? Goldman Sachs is now actively recommending Chinese models to their Wall Street clients. I mean, wow. That clearly signals that the visual AI front, which frankly used to be solely dominated by the United States, is now a highly contested global market.
Let's dive into Section 4, Economy and Workforce Impact. Fear versus data.
So, with sovereign states competing and these autonomous agents entering our workforce, there's a really intense debate brewing about what this actually means for human jobs. On one side of the debate, we have a very stark warning. Take a look at this quote. It comes from a newly released manifesto organized by Stanford University's Digital Economy Lab. They state this AI shift is larger than the Industrial Revolution, but unfolding over a vastly shorter time frame. And guys, this isn't some fringe opinion. This open letter was signed by over 200 prominent economists and tech leaders. We're talking 16 Nobel laureates, former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, and the chief economists of both OpenAI and Anthropic. They are actively demanding immediate policy action, modern guardrails, and new tax structures right now to prevent mass job displacement. But let's juxtapose that very real fear with the actual corporate data we are seeing right now on the ground. This is from real estate and corporate advisory firm JLL's 2026 Future of Work survey, and reality might actually look quite different than the warnings. Despite all the public anxiety, 60% of senior business leaders actually expect their human workforce to grow over the next 3 years. Only 40% expect it to shrink or remain flat. The data indicates that the most AI-advanced organizations out there aren't using AI to just replace humans. They're actively using it as a workforce augmenter to fuel their overall business expansion. It's a truly fascinating disconnect between high-level economic theory and what's actually happening in current corporate planning. And finally, Section 5, AI World Cup Predictions, France versus Argentina. Let's step away from the heavy geopolitical and economic stakes for just a second. I love this. How do these massive, multi-billion-dollar superintelligences handle something as beautifully chaotic and entirely human as sports? Well, a consolidated experiment recently fed squad quality, team strength, and tournament performance data into 9 of the world's leading AI models to predict the winner of the 2026 Men's World Cup final between France and Argentina. And interestingly enough, they are almost perfectly split. France is the narrow favorite with 5 votes, backed by Gemini, Grok, DeepSeek, LeChat, and Qwen. Meanwhile, the defending champions, Argentina, secured the other 4 votes from ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, and Meta AI. So even with literally all the data in the world, the greatest artificial minds are completely deadlocked on predicting a human game. Which leads me to leave you with this one provocative thought today. If the world's absolute most advanced AI models, the exact same models that tech giants are busy deploying into power plants, wiring into corporate data pipelines, and offering up to governments as sovereign infrastructure, if they are perfectly split on predicting a soccer match, are they truly ready to reliably manage our global economy and our physical reality? It's a massive question, and it's one we are all going to have to answer very, very soon. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.